Part of the charm of bike packing is that you have to be prepared for anything that could happen. Either you get stuck because of weather, or you blow a tire, or your derailleur starts falling apart.
There's so many things that could happen, and that part of possible failure, I think, is the most exciting. My name's Cody Cooper. I like to spend time outside and ride bicycles. Last year, Crowley and I rode 300 kilometers because that was supposed to be the limit, but we survived, which means that it wasn't really the limit.
My name is Ethan Crowley. I'm 21 years old, grew up in Grand Bay, Westfield, currently studying to be a chemical engineer. I think I'm a little bit in search of doing progressively more difficult things. Yeah, so in August we are going to mount our bikes in St. John and ride around the Bay of Fundy clockwise to get to Digby, Nova Scotia, and then take the ferry home.
Yeah, that's my pillow, sleeping bag, sleeping pad.
My part of the soup system.
Ethan Crowley and I are going to embark on this ride together. We've done some long stuff together before. He's a very analytical guy, thinks about safety first, which I need in my life. There's nobody else that I'd rather be doing it with. Fire starter, bug spray, charger with cords, spare tubes. That's it. On Friday, I was planning to get down to Bike Works for right around 3 o'clock, try to help Ethan set his bike up a little bit.
Bit hectic on my end, getting there. I decided to not take the day off. I had all my stuff ready at Bike Works. I think within like 20 minutes we were on the bikes and ready to go.
Starting the adventure, I kind of had butterflies in my stomach. I do that before every race, which kind of signified that I really cared about what we were about to do.
We started quick, man. It was fun getting out of town. It was at rush hour.
As soon as the ride started, all the nerves were gone. It was just a regular day, just going for a bike ride.
I think I was telling Cody, like, I can't believe we're doing the ride now. Like, you spend 3-4 months planning this ride, and now all there is to do is just ride.
The energy levels were high, but I knew very well what we were about to get into, and I knew that it was going to be a really hard day ahead of us.
Coming to St. John, there's some rolling hills, relatively flat, and then you start to get to the real elevation between kind of St. Martin's and mostly on the Fundy Trail Parkway. There's a lot of really steep hills. The climbing was hard. On the other hand, it was really nice because you climbed and then you get to fly down these beautiful roads in one of the greatest places we have in our province.
The Fundy Trail Parkway is absolutely spectacular. Around every corner you just see cliffs and ocean and trees, and you're higher than everything else, and it's absolutely beautiful. We continued through the Fundy Trail Parkway all the way until Sheppity Road, turned right onto Sheppity Road, which took us into Fundy National Park, where then we took a little bit of a bird bath at Wolf Lake, and then turned around to go camp out on Sheppity Road.
There definitely starts to be a little bit of doubt that kind of creeps into the back of your mind where it's like, dude, you're only 4 hours into this. You got 28 to go. Like, what makes you think if you could struggle through day one that you're going to get the next days ticked off like that? A little bit of doubt, but you kind of pull yourself out of it, hopefully before the end of the day.
When I woke up, I didn't sleep super well that night.
I can remember feeling a little bit sore, feeling mostly like pretty refreshed.
There was a lot of excitement. Like the stoke was pretty high just because the hardest part was already over. The days are getting easier, so.
Day 2.
We left camp, made it down to Bennett Lake, topped up on water that we had used the night before, and then set off. And man, that Fundy National Park is so good.
I'd never hit over 70 kilometers an hour on a single ride so many times. It was so cool.
And then you just bomb down the main hill, through the campground, into Alma.
Once we got into Alma, we re-upped on our essential nutrients like half moons, essentially anything that was fully loaded with carbohydrates. And then we headed in towards Hopewell Rocks area, around by Hillsborough, and then into Moncton. By the time we hit Moncton, there was some thoughts again floating around about the possibility of what it was we were doing. We'd already made it pretty far, but that day alone, we still had another 200 and something kilometers to cover.
We got into Moncton, I was pretty shot.
Sitting at a pita pit right now. Gonna try and get a sandwich, some Gatorade, maybe like a Coca-Cola or something. Try to rejuvenate the spirit. Feeling a little bit bonked right now, but hopefully we can get a pita into me.
Got some sandwiches, and I got a smoothie to try and kind of just try some different things to see what would settle in my stomach. And then we set off. Again, you've been resting for kind of 45 minutes, an hour at that point, so you're feeling good again. But then it started right back. You know, the heavy stomach, a little bit of nausea when you're trying to eat anything big. Cody could tell I was really not feeling the greatest, so he suggested we kind of stop at a gas station. I have no idea where we were. We were about an hour and a half outside of Sackville at this point, I think. Like anytime I thought about getting back on the bike, it was like my body was like starting to almost reject the idea of more exertion and more riding and all that kind of stuff. And then finished the bottle of pop I had, but it was just not good at all. And I ended up like just throwing up everything I had eaten off in some bushes. And that sucked. That kind of was what it was. So we elected to just keep going. Like there's no option at this point. We've, you know, for lack of a better term, wasted 20 minutes at this gas station. We cycled another maybe 90 minutes, and the last 45 of it was just me, like just hands down on the bars. And like this self-preservation mindset kind of sets in where any further and you're gonna start kind of really damaging your body. You're just going so deep into the red, no food, like not absorbing much water. You can't go much further. We pulled into Sackville, and I sat down. I wasn't stomaching anything, so I had to make the decision to kind of cut my losses for Saturday, pull out, pack the bike up, let Cody go on for Saturday in hopes that I could have a strong Sunday.
We knew that it was going to be a possibility. It's unfortunate that it happened, but I totally understand. Like, it's a huge task, and sometimes stuff just happens. I knew that I was going to continue on. I knew that I was going to do everything I could to finish the ride for the both of us, regardless of the situation. We made do. I went up towards the Acadian coast on the NB Trail, which is an old rail line. From the old rail line, we ended up on the Acadian coast, which was absolutely beautiful. The speed stayed high. My mood got a little bit better the further I went along, and the legs just kept turning over. They felt real fresh. So I went right past to get into Wentworth Provincial Park. The guys had found the perfect campsite that we may and or may not have been allowed to be in.
That's good stuff, man. You know, I didn't die. Lost feeling in my big toe a bunch of times today, but I think with a solid 6 hours of sleep, I'll be able to finish all the way to Digby tomorrow. That's the plan.
Waking up on the third day was a little bit different because I wasn't sure if we would even be able to make it to Digby from Wentworth, which was a plan. Didn't have to be the plan. Would have been okay if we didn't make it to Digby, but something in me just said I have to get there.
Waking up on the third day was relieving. Definitely tired, definitely fatigued, but ate a good breakfast, set up well. But then Sunday morning started ripping good after that. We got back on track. The highway and slight climb out of Wentworth Valley.
The weather was good, the wind was at our backs. Had a nice blueberry turnover with some extra sugar on it that kind of made the morning go by really well. We went from Wentworth Provincial Park up towards Truro, and then once we got through Truro, we started heading towards Windsor, which was a really long section. But I didn't realize it was over 30 degrees at the time. I felt like I was kind of bonking, but I spent 40 minutes in this spiraling mindset of what do I need? What am I gonna do? Why do I feel this way? I can't figure it out. After about 40 minutes of Crowley having to pull, I finally said I need to stop. We weren't up a hill, we weren't down a hill, we was just on the side of the road. I just said I need to stop. So I did. I started taking water from my bladder and just spitting it on my legs, which felt really good. It felt incredibly refreshing. And then it clicked in my brain, oh, you're just really hot. But it was enough to take me to this awesome little convenience store that had party ice.
There was never any question of whether I'd finish, but it might have just taken a lot longer.
I'll cool myself down. This is how it's gonna work. Which was awesome at the time, until we saw the storm clouds once we actually got into Windsor proper.
And then your phone buzzes and you get, the emergency alert, and it's severe thunderstorm and flash flood warning.
It wasn't too much longer after that that the rain really started to come down. And then the rain started to come even more. And then we couldn't see. And then cars couldn't see us. And then the follow car that we had behind us, who knew we were there, also couldn't see us. So that was enough.
And we had to pull over at a gas station and kind of seek cover. And we just sat there. But you can't go anywhere because it's too dangerous. There's lightning, there's a flash flood.
The dream of making it to Digby that day was fading, and it was fading pretty fast.
Once the storm passed enough, we figured the rain was light enough that we could keep going, get to Wolfville. As the rain stopped, the mood and our mental state kind of started to climb out of the gutter again, but there was still much more to go.
There was maybe 200 meters of elevation over the course of 100 and something kilometers from Windsor to Digby, which you can smash out in a couple of hours, but it was already pretty late at that point because we had to wake up in Digby and still survive to make it to the ferry. We did probably 30 or 40 kilometers on the rails to trails before finally getting to a crossroads.
We hopped on the Highway 1 and we just rolled turns as fast as we could down the highway.
And Crowley and I just hammered it out. We made it probably 60K like that before both of us were a little bit tired.
It's getting by, man. Pretty blown up. Blew up like an hour and a half ago. But there is still enough spark to get to food. My legs felt fine, but it's your mind that starts to play games on you. Like, you know, it's dark, it's late, we're the only ones out there. And it takes a mental toll on you. I mean, we had both woken up at probably 7 a.m. And, you know, if you consider it's, you know, 10 or 11 p.m. now, that's a long day.
The mood was shit. The mood was really bad. We hadn't eaten in hours. It started to rain again.
And so we ended up rolling like that, just in sheer misery for probably the last 2 hours until we rolled into camp at about 1:30 in the morning on Monday. And we were so tired, we didn't care. Like, we slept on a dead-end road next to the highway.
We're on the eastmost side of Digby, so we only have like less than 20 Ks to the ferry tomorrow morning probably, which is pretty good. But it's like, what? It's 1:30 right now probably?
In the morning, yeah.
Yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning. We just got pulled over like 20 minutes ago, maybe. Yeah.
On the wrong side of the highway.
I'm pretty upset about it. Not gonna lie. This has been, a lot of fun. But right now, I'm pretty over it.
Waking up Monday morning was exhaustion was the first sentiment. And then some partial relief was the second.
We were about 14 to 16 kilometers away from the ferry.
We'd essentially finished the trip. So we packed up, we rode down the highway a little bit to the big stop, and we had our first hot meal of the trip that wasn't made on a camp stove. And it was really nice. And all that was left to do was just ride 20 minutes to the ferry terminal. So, you know, you're riding through Digby proper, you do your last climb, and all you have to do is just sail down this coastal road, you know, along the Bay of Fundy. And then you crest a little knoll and you see the ferry terminal there. You see the ferry coming in the distance and you know you've made it. And that's a beautiful feeling.
We rolled our bikes over the ramp, onto the ferry, locked them up, and that was it. That was the end of the riding. That had to be done.
In the moment, it didn't feel worth it. You're still in this headspace where you're so exhausted.
My first step was to sit down and take my shoes off. I didn't want to have anything on my feet.
But then you start to come around and you get a chance to just reflect and start to be proud of yourself and talk to Cody about, you know, how did we just do that? Like, How did we ride for 15 or 16 hours in one day until 1:30 in the morning? Like, why did we do that? How did we do that? And that's where the pride and the joy starts to come in with some of these projects. And then you make it home. You know, you step back into this familiar place that you grew up in. You come to the end and you have no choice but to just sit on a boat and wait to get home and reflect on what an incredible trip it was.